Okay friends, to get started on this job, I just want to let you know ahead of time, you're going to have to jack up the vehicle quite a bit. You're going to want this wheel to be at least 8 inches up off the ground to be able to service the suspension. With that said, when you're trying to jack it up and you're trying to make sure that it's going to be supported properly, you're definitely going to want to do it by the body of the vehicle. You don't want to have anything underneath the axle particularly. With that said, let's get started. Okay friends, one of the first things you need to do is get into the trunk area. Once you get inside, we're going to remove all these 10mm headed bolts that hold those latches. Something that I want to quickly mention is you don't need to open this up, and you definitely don't want to touch this nut back here. If you touch this, there's a possibility you could hurt yourself. The next thing we need to do is get this out of the way. To start that, we're going to remove these two 10mm headed bolts, and then of course if your unit's locked, you'll unlock it and then lift it up and out of the vehicle. Okay. Let's go ahead and unlock this, lift this up, put it right up there. Let's get this out of here. Now, if you just tilt your rear seat, you can see where one of the mounting nuts is right there. Is that easily accessible? It's fairly easy, but it's not going to be the easiest to torque, and I always like to torque things like this down. So I'm going to go ahead and get this right out of the way. The next thing we need to do is take off this plastic piece right here. You're going to see there's a little plastic push tab right there, and there's another one over here. Use a tool that looks like this, a little forky tool. Try to get along both sides of it, right underneath in between the plastic unit itself and the piton, and then pop it out of there. If you can't get it out with a fork tool, you could also try to use some pliers like this. There it is. Set it aside, do the same to the other one. Now that we have those out of there, let's carefully move this out of the way. Little rubber seal. We're just going to try to get right underneath this and pop it up. Okay. This is looking pretty good. Okay, now we're just going to lift up on this. You're going to notice that it's hanging up in this area right there. What we need to do is come from the passenger side, lift it up, and kind of roll it towards the inner portion of the vehicle. There we are. You can see it has a little hooky-doo there. You just got to kind of get the right amount of angle to pop it up and out. Now that we have that out of the way, let's go ahead and pull up on this. Should just want to separate. So while we're pulling out on this, I noticed that it's catching right along there. Continue with your plastic trim tool so you don't damage anything. And just go ahead and separate these two. There we are. This is looking much better now. Okay, so now we have a nice clear view of our top mounting areas. Let's get these mounting nuts off of here. Okay, now we don't necessarily have to remove the wheel to get to our lower mounting stud there, and of course the lower mounting bolt right there. But it's much easier for me, and of course for the video it's going to be easier to see, so I'll just do that. Our upper mounting bolt is right here. It's going to be a little bit difficult to get to because there is a rubber mount that's there, but use your 14mm socket and possibly a hammer and just try to get it up on there. Let's spray down this nut area. Use your 19mm, remove the nut. The next thing we need to do is pry the shock off of the axle unit. When you do that, there isn't going to be anything else holding the shock in, so of course you're going to want to make sure you hold on to it and be very careful for any pinch points. There it is, friends. Now what we need to do is prep our shock. So you want to make sure you take off your nuts. And of course you want to make sure that you have your gasket so it's sitting right inside the groove. Once you've done that, let's get ready for our install. Go ahead and get this up into the vehicle. Okay, so we've got this up in there a little bit. I'm just going to start this bolt in a little bit. The next thing we're going to need is a pry bar. I'm going to come right inside the axle area here, pull this down, and just try to line that stud up with the hole on the shock. Loving bonk with our rubber mallet. Put on a tiny bit of thread locker down here. Put your washer on, start that bolt. We're not going to go ahead and tighten this up yet. We're just going to kind of get it started, just like this. A little bit of thread locker on our bolt for up here. Okay, let's snug this up. Let's get our 2 upper mounting nuts up on here. All right, let's bottom them out. Let's torque these to 59 foot-pounds. Now let's torque the bottom bolt. Now's the best time to go ahead and do the same to the other side. Now if you removed your wheel, go ahead and snug it back up on there, and we're going to put the wheel so it's putting the force of the vehicle on the ground. Okay, so now that we have the weight of the vehicle on the ground, it's putting a load on the suspension. At this point, we're going to torque this, and we're going to torque it to 59 foot-pounds. There we are. Do the same to the other side of the vehicle. All right, let's get our little side panel started here, and then we're going to go over towards the front area, and we're going to make sure we get the black panel on there as well. Let's take this panel, slide it behind the black panel. Once you have it looking pretty good, we're going to make sure it slides down along here as well. Okay, bring it down, push this all in. That feels pretty great. Line this up. Give that a couple loving bunks as well. Make sure the trim comes all behind this right here. That's super important. You want to make sure the rubber piece is sealed. All right, let's get these back on the vehicle. Just pay attention to the little hooky doos there. Those need to make sure they line up. Slide it into the hole. Go ahead and start in that bolt. Make sure you get a few good threads before you try to tighten it up because you don't want to cross thread these. Make sure it's nice and snug. Do the same to all the rest. Now it's going to be time to get the cover in for this area right here. Something to pay attention to is on the bottom side. You're going to find 3 little hooky doos. Make sure you line them up with the holes. And then go ahead and rock it down and lock it in. Now let's go ahead and get our rearward trim piece in. Just pay attention to the little hooky doo. It needs to go in the slot right back here. Line that up. Okay. Yep, sitting into the slot. Go ahead and press it down. Double check to make sure your seal is going all the way around as it should. This looks good. Let's go ahead and make sure we put in our push clips. There we are. Now it's going to be time to put our storage compartment in here. You just want to make sure you have these flipped up. It's going to make it much easier. So put this in just like this, and then just kind of lift these up. You want to make sure that they're going to match up. They're of course going to fall back down, but that's okay. Also pay attention to your hooky doos. Make sure they're lined up with the holes. Go ahead and close this down. Perfect. Grab your 2 mounting bolts and snug them up. Battery's getting a little low. That's tight. Awesome. Make sure you lock it in. Now it's going to be time to fold up our seat. Grab your seat belt, pull it towards the side, and then go ahead and lift this up. Make sure it's completely locked. Retract your seat belt. Do the same to the other side. Close the door. Close the trunk. If you removed your wheel, make sure you torque your lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds. Torqued.